Morning dear students, welcome back after to the another session of our same chapter, that is chapter 15, air around us. Now in our last chapter we have learnt about what is air, the properties of air we learnt about, then we learnt how we can prove that air it is present everywhere. We learnt about atmosphere and its composition. Now today we are going to learn about the first gas that we discussed that is present in our air, that is nitrogen. Now nitrogen it is a colorless, tasteless and odorless gas. That means nitrogen does not has any specific color, taste or smell, and it is slightly soluble in water. That means it is a little bit soluble in water. Next, it is not essential for respiration. Now nitrogen gas it is not necessary for our respiration. In our last experiment that we conducted, we saw that nitrogen it is not useful even for combustion also. So we can say that it is neither used for respiration nor it supports combustion. So we can say that nitrogen it is a very unreactive gas. But being unreactive also, nitrogen has its own importance. Now what kind of importance nitrogen has? Let us understand that. Now this nitrogenous compounds, okay, nitrogen make their own compound which help in building up of proteins. Now proteins, we all know that they are very helpful for the growth of living organisms. So these nitrogenous compounds which are making up proteins are useful for the growth of living organisms. So nitrogen from the air or atmosphere is taken up by the plants, which is again provided to the animals, and ultimately we can say that nitrogen is helping for the growth of plants and animals both. After nitrogen, the another gas that is present in the atmosphere, that it is 21%, that is oxygen. Now oxygen, as we all know that it is a very important gas. It is very necessary for the survival of life or existence of life on this planet. So we can say that oxygen is the most important gas. Though now oxygen is important, let us see another properties of oxygen, that is oxygen like nitrogen it is also colorless, tasteless and odorless, and it is also slightly soluble in water. Now oxygen, we know that it is very important for combustion and for respiration. So we can say that oxygen is supporting life and it is also important for combustion. Now let us understand that how oxygen is necessary for living things. Now oxygen, we all know that it is taken up by the living organisms during breathing. Whether it be plants, animals or human beings, we all take up oxygen during respiration. Now when we are taking up oxygen during respiration, the oxygen breaks down the food molecules. Whatever food we are taking, these are broken down by the oxygen, and it is broken down into carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now whatever energy we are getting from our food, that is the only reason which is helping us to sustain, because it helps us to carry out the various metabolic activities of our body. So we can say that oxygen is very important for our survival. Now oxygen, we can say that terrestrial animals, the animals and the plants which are on the land, they are taking oxygen from around them, which is present around us. But what about the aquatic plants and animals, the plants and animals which are living inside the water bodies? Now these aquatic plants and animals, they also take up oxygen which is dissolved in water bodies. So we can say that oxygen is taken up not only by terrestrial plants and animals but also aquatic plants and animals. Now oxygen is very important for our survival. That is why sometimes the oxygen cylinders, they are carried by mountaineers also. Now why these oxygen cylinders are carried by mountaineers? Because as we go on higher altitude, the amount of oxygen goes on decreasing. So it becomes, or they face a difficulty in breathing. That is why mountaineers used to carry oxygen cylinders with them. Now the same oxygen cylinders are carried by scuba divers also. Now scuba divers, that means they do diving, underwater diving. Now you all might be wondering that as the oxygen is dissolved in water, what's the use of taking or carrying these oxygen cylinders? Yes, of course oxygen is dissolved in water, but that dissolved oxygen in water is not enough for human beings, or it cannot be taken up by human beings. So it becomes necessary for the divers to carry oxygen cylinders with them too. Next, these oxygen cylinders are also used in hospitals. Okay, now hospitals, for some patients, for treating the patients also, sometimes oxygen cylinders are used. So we can say that oxygen is very necessary. Now, how we can say that oxygen is necessary? With the help of an experiment. So you can see that over here I have kept a picture. Now what I have done is, what you can also carry out this small experiment. Just take a small plant, okay, and cover that plant with the help of a glass jar. Now when you are covering the plant with the glass jar, what will happen after a few days, or you will wonder, or you will see that the plant will die off, or the plant will start withering. Now why this plant has started to wither or to die? Because the plant is not getting enough oxygen. Same happens with the insects also. If insects are not also getting oxygen, they will also die. So we can say that oxygen is very necessary for the survival of life, that is for living things. Another, that is oxygen is necessary for combustion. Now what is combustion? Let us understand that first. The process of burning anything, or the process of burning a substance, will be termed as combustion. So combustion, you can say that burning of any substance. Now when we are talking about burning, we have already seen in the experiment that oxygen is utilized during a burning phenomena. So we can say oxygen, it is a supporter of combustion. Now whenever we are burning any substance, air is very important. Now air is important, that means fresh air is important, because fresh air contains major amount of oxygen. So if fresh air is not available, then the burning substance will stop burning, that means it will get extinguished. So it is very necessary. We can say that oxygen is very important for combustion. Now if you might have studied or learnt also that if there, whenever there is any fire, in order to stop that fire, we are either throwing sand or blanket on it. Now why this sand or blanket are thrown over fires? Because when we are throwing sand or blanket over fires, what happens, that is, we are cutting off the supply of fresh air. Now cutting off the supply of fresh air, that means we are not providing enough oxygen to the fire. Now as enough oxygen is not being provided, ultimately the fire will stop. So we can say that oxygen is very necessary for combustion. Now how you can prove that oxygen is important for combustion? So for that, take two saucers, and in both the saucers just put the candle, burning candle, light a candle with the help of a matchstick in both the saucers. Now cover that with the help of a glass. Cover one saucer with the help of an inverted glass. When you are covering the saucer with the help of the inverted glass, you will see that the one which is not covered, it is still burning, and the one which is covered with the inverted glass has stopped burning. Why is it so? Because we have stopped the availability of oxygen to the candle. Now as oxygen is not available, it will stop burning. So we can say that oxygen supports burning, or it is a supporter of combustion. Moving on to next gas, that is carbon dioxide. Now carbon dioxide, that is present in only 0.03% in our air. Now though this carbon dioxide, it is very less in amount, it also plays a very major role. Let us see that what major role it is playing. Now before that, carbon dioxide, it is also a colorless and odorless gas. So we can say that carbon dioxide, it is having same properties somewhat like our nitrogen and oxygen. But this carbon dioxide, it is having a slightly sour taste. That means carbon dioxide possesses taste that is sour. Okay. Next is carbon dioxide is moderately soluble in water. Now we can easily say that carbon dioxide is soluble in water. How you can conclude to it? Because the fizzy drinks that you are drinking or purchasing, all the fizzy drinks, they also contain an amount of carbon dioxide in them. So we can say that carbon dioxide is soluble in water. Now carbon dioxide, it does not helps burning, or it is not a supporter of combustion, but instead carbon dioxide is used as an extinguisher. That means carbon dioxide stops a burning fire. That is why, because whenever there is any fire, you might have seen the extinguishing cylinders. Now these extinguishing cylinders, they also contain carbon dioxide gas. Now this carbon dioxide gas, it is having a property of extinguisher. That is why they are used to stop the burning fire. Now whenever during respiration process we all are taking oxygen, at that time we are releasing carbon dioxide. Now this carbon dioxide which we are releasing in the atmosphere, it is taken up by the plants during the process of photosynthesis. Now photosynthesis, we all know that it is a process of making food in the presence of sunlight by plants. Now during photosynthesis process, plants are taking up carbon dioxide and they are preparing their food, and this food is ultimately taken up by us also. So we can say that carbon dioxide is also helpful to us for our survival. That means as it is helping in making of food. So this was about carbon dioxide. In our now let us see about water vapor. Now during rainy season, you might have wondered that, or you might have observed that the weather is very you can say it is very much moisture is there in the weather. Now from where does this moisture comes? Now this moisture is nothing but the water vapor, the water which is present in the gaseous form. Now this water vapor is present in gaseous form in the atmosphere. Now as it is present in gaseous form, it cannot be seen easily, but it can be proven with the help of the condensation experiment. Now we have already learned the process of condensation in our last chapter, that is condensation means the conversion of water vapor into water. That means if you are keeping a cool object outside in a room temperature for a few minutes or for a less period of time, so you will observe drops of water on that object. Now these drops of water are coming from the water vapor which is present around it. So you can say that water vapor is also present in the atmosphere. Now this water vapor in the air, it plays a very important role in the water cycle. Now water cycle, it is very important, we all know that, and water vapor is playing a major role in it. So students, this was all about the few gases which are present in our atmosphere. In our next video, we are going to learn about the various another gases, and we will then learn about what is the importance of these gases.